and one that's been large and distinguished for many years. It has a long history of involvement in justice making and of bringing people together in diversity. I remember a story my mom liked to tell about a guest speaker who came to address the congregation's adults one Sunday. This person identified herself as being from Siam. That's what Thailand was called until the Second World War. Siam. The guest speaker offered to teach the congregation an important spiritual concept from her country, and she invited them to repeat after her as she did it. I still remember this phrase to this day, so I'd like to teach it to you. Repeat after me. Owa, Tase, Ligu, Siam. Now we'll put it together in a couple of parts. Owa Tase, Ligu Siam. And we'll put the whole thing together. With me, Owa Tase, Ligu Siam. Faster. Oh, what a silly goose I am. Oh, what a silly goose I am. That's right. She got the flock to call themselves geese. What a silly goose. Thailand is about 95% Buddhist. Buddhism definitely has a playful side. The important spiritual concept from her country that she was sharing is not to take yourself too seriously. David, we've got a little bit of extra volume coming on the platform up here, if you could just adjust. Okay. The Buddha and Buddhist monks are often depicted as tricksters in Buddhist sacred scriptures, and modern-day Buddhist leaders embody playfulness too. The Dalai Lama, the spiritual leader of Tibetan Buddhism, calls being too formal a form of self-torture. And he made this comment after delivering an hour-long lecture with a washcloth perched on his head like a floppy hat. He had wiped his brow at the beginning and then just plunked it up there and left it, giggling as he proceeded with his talk in front of thousands of Buddhist nuns, monks, and scientists and others. Why did he do that? Somebody asked him that question, and in his response, the Dalai Lama conveyed that it's important for leaders, especially spiritual leaders, to act like humans and be playful. He is famously playful. To be playful is to experience a fundamental part of our humanness. We're born wired for it, ready to smile at the adults around us and draw them into games of cooing and hide and seek. And then later, we're wired to explore our surroundings freestyle, moving from one thing to another, delighting and investigating, responding creatively to unfamiliar objects. Do I shake it, taste it, toss it on the ground for my grown-up servants to retrieve for me? And play is also more than that. The life force itself has a kind of playful quality. Think about how much we see play in nature, from bears to birds and kittens. Most species of animals have a set of anywhere from 10 to 100 distinct play signals that they use to get others to play with them or to reassure each other during play that, yes, we're still playing, we're not really fighting. Wag, 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 right? These signals are sometimes understood across species. Think of a dog in that play bow they do with their front legs extended and their hindquarters in the air, tail wagging. You know exactly what that dog is saying. Or a cat batting the air with the ears relaxed and the claws retracted. You understand that body language too. Stuart Brown, a psychologist who researches playfulness, gave a TED Talk a while back in which he showed a video of a wild polar bear approaching a chained-up dog. The bear has the fixed gaze of a predator on the hunt, and it seems certain that that dog is in big trouble. But the dog, either in an act of genius or complete obliviousness, strikes that play pose, and the bear takes her up on it, and they play together. Nobody gets eaten. Nature is filled with playfulness. Even the free-flowing creative movement of air and water and earth can have a playful quality, like leaves swirling around in the wind or tumbleweed bouncing along I-40, right? Spontaneous movement that doesn't seem to be toward any other clear end, leads to life. Seeds are dispersed and covered. Buds burst, attracting pollinators who flit around and look drunk on their nectar. Even the primordial swamp in which life was first sparked was a swirl of elements, transforming into a kind of dance of single-cell organisms. So to play is to flow with and experience a part not only of our nature, but also of the nature of being itself, God nature, the nature of the essence or spirit of life. As the UU minister Anthony Mekar puts it, the nature that surges within me and within you wants playfulness, wants us to be alive and vital, wants us to feel charged up with the electrical charge of the soul. And the erudite astrologer Rob Bresney says each of us is the expression of the divine wow. Also, like nature and the divine spirit or essence of being, play involves some chaos and some unpredictability. Even in games that have a lot of rules, like sports or board games, an element of unpredictability is what delights us as we are absorbed in the flow of it. And other times, play challenges the usual rules. These are probably all the things that our tradition's Puritan ancestors hated about playfulness. They thought playfulness was sinfulness, and play was particularly banned on the Sabbath. But as our tradition evolved and became open to the teachings of other religions, our religious ancestors learned new modes of being. The Unitarian transcendentalist Ralph Waldo Emerson translated poetry by Hafiz, like the piece we just heard. You have all the genius to build a swing in your backyard for God. Hafiz was a Muslim mystic. In his journals, Emerson wrote that he wanted to be like Hafiz. There's a transcendent quality in play that Hafiz, the Buddha, the Dalai Lama, and now I think maybe even Emerson appreciated. When we're taking ourselves very seriously or feeling anxious, we're closely enmeshed with those fleeting things that are most likely to cause us suffering, our status or our obligations, worry over material things, for example. But when we lose ourselves in play, we transcend that for a while. We partake of joy and creative energy. In Zen Buddhism, humor and playfulness are teaching tools that connect the student with the quality of enlightenment. Those who achieve enlightenment may laugh and laugh or do things that seem absurd, like the example of the Zen monk Tang Yin-feng. When he was really old and he was just moments away from his death, Tang Yin-feng said, "I've seen monks die sitting and lying down, but have any died standing?" Yes, he was told, some monks have died standing. How about standing on their heads, he asked. None have done that, he was told. So he got up and did a headstand and died, just like that. The Buddhist scholar Conrad Hyers says that when monks are playful and even iconoclastic in this way, when they overturn serious ideas of what should be, it represents the playfulness and the lightheartedness that lie beyond our restless grasping and clinging, the sense of gaiety and festivity that lies on the further side of fear of death and attachment to the forms of life. So play is real, and it's a valuable spiritual practice. But as we age, many of us forget about playing. Why is that? And how do we remember again? I'm going to talk about that in a little while. But first, I want to invite us to take some time for meditation and prayer.